Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Vaishnavis. Welcome to our monthly Sangha. It's such a lovely opportunity for us all to get together and have some association from all over the world. We've got Vaishnavis from Europe, from Canada, from the US, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. And I'm even happier and very grateful to have the opportunity to welcome and introduce our speaker for the day. We have Her Grace Devaki Devi Dasi. She is a disciple of His Holiness Naranjan Swami, and she joined the Brahmachari ashram in Australia in 1985.
Brahmacharini, not
Oh,
Brahmachari.
thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Brahmacharini. Yes, the Brahmacharini ashram in Australia in 1985. As a Grahasta, she preached in the former Soviet Union and since 1999 serves as a renounced traveling preacher, regularly visiting India, Bangladesh, Europe, and the USA. She served on the GBC Committee for Devotee Care and currently promotes such care as a top priority within the ISKCON family. Her multifaceted understanding of Vaishnava culture inspired her to establish the Institute for Spiritual Culture in 2014, offering insightful education in Vaishnav life. She has published 3 books and conducts holy name retreats around the world. So please, everyone, join me in welcoming our beautiful guest this afternoon. Welcome,
Hare
Devi.
Krishna.
Yes, and please take over the call.
Okay. Om Agyantimandasya Agyanandala Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Dina Tasmai Shri Govindamaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Sthapadam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakaramayam Danati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhasa Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nivishesha Shunyavari Pasata Dishatarina Manchakapa Tubasha Kripa Sinivevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhava Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Go Bhaktamanda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to spend some little time with you and try to serve you in whatever humble way I can. So the topic for today is the holy name. And yes, as you know, it was mentioned in my little introduction there, I do like to conduct holy name retreats, but usually they go for 3 days with a morning session and an afternoon session, and they're quite intense. So here, of course, we have only 2 hours. So we can only really, give some little insight into the whole thing. So let us maybe first, I will see how we go for time, but ideally I would like to have 3 sections in these 2 hours, and we could have a little question answer session after each of these sections. Because, if we go for 2 hours or 1.5 hours, you may not even remember what was the first section or something. And you also may lose concentration and so on. And ideally, I would even like to make one little japa exercise with you, where we chant one round together with a certain mood in the heart. This is quite an eye-opening exercise, actually. So let us see how we go, So I will try my best to get it all smoothly into these 2 hours, and I very much hope that you will get something out of this. So the first section is the inattentiveness in chanting, because that is really the root cause of everything. You know, as we know, in many temples, we recite the 10 offenses every morning after Mangalarti to chanting the holy name. And then very often we say, and there is an 11th offense, which is inattentive, to be inattentive while chanting. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this is actually the root cause of all other offenses, is this inattentiveness. And this inattentiveness has actually 3 levels, you know, on the level of the body, on the level of the mind, on the level of the heart. There's 3 levels of inattentiveness. So let us first of all understand that any activity which we do very regularly every day, or even any relationship which we engage in every day, very easily some overfamiliarity sneaks in. And overfamiliarity means that we take things lightly and cheaply, and we lose respect. We forget with whom we are dealing, or we are forgetting what we are actually doing. You know, for any of us here who is married, we know the husband-wife relationship is so prone to overfamiliarity. You know, that often we say things to our husband or our wife which we would never ever to say to anybody else. But it's just my husband, it's just my wife, you know. So, and in the same way, it is there in activities, that activities we do every day, for example, even when we worship the deities every day, very easily, it becomes a mechanical routine thing. And we actually forget what we do. We forget that we personally serve the Lord, and we become overfamiliar. And this, of course, also sneaks in to our chanting, because hopefully we all chant every day for, you know, 2.5 hours. So, you know, this activity which we do every day, very easily, it just becomes a mechanical routine thing, a dry duty. And this, of course, will not give any taste, you know. And it happens so often all over the world that initiated devotees, even Brahmin initiated devotees, after 15, 20 years, they stop chanting 16 rounds because there is no taste. So it means we actually have to make a conscious endeavor to get on deeper levels of chanting. If we treat our chanting just like something we have to get done somehow or other, and our joy comes from, oh, thank God I've finished my rounds, you know. So that is the wrong attitude in chanting. Actually, just let me have one humble request. It makes a Zoom session more personal if you kindly switch on your video and I can see your smiling faces rather than only seeing a black box here with a name on it. So, you know, if somehow possible, it will be nice for me if I see you and I can actually speak to you. I'm a personalist. I like to see my audience and address people. And so, yeah, this is so much nicer than I can see a few more of you here. Yeah, so that's the thing, you know, if we just are happy to somehow finish our rounds, then there is actually no taste in this attitude to chanting. So I basically want to stress the point that actually it is hard work to chant, and we have to make a concentrated endeavor to get on deeper levels of chanting, and not just nish, nish, ram, ram, we walk around, we do so many other things, it is actually almost a little shameful that, in these modern days, meditation is very popular. In big cities, I'm sure in America too, almost on every street corner, you find a meditation and yoga center. And of course, usually they're Mayavadis. But we have to shamefully admit that they usually take their meditation more seriously than we do. When they meditate, they put a sign on the door, don't disturb, I'm meditating, and they put the Mayavadi music on and light the candle and they sit there and meditate. They take this so seriously, But what are we doing? We have the highest form of meditation, which takes us to Goloka Vrindavan. But yet, we take it so lightly and cheaply and do so many other things while we are chanting. And this can hardly even be called chanting. I mean, on these holy name retreats I usually conduct, sometimes people get some big eye-opening experience there. And I've had, retreats where on the closing session where I asked people to share some realizations, how this retreat affected them over the 3 days. And sometimes people share heart-moving experiences. And I've had Prabhupada disciples there who were in tears and saying, now I realize I've done something else over the last 45 years. I have not been chanting Hare Krishna. Such realizations people get, yes. So in any case, as we know, we've heard this also many times, that Krishna and his holy name are actually non-different, which means by chanting the holy name, we actually get the same spiritual benefit as meeting Krishna face to face. And this is actually quite mind-blowing if we think about it more deeply. We all know how important association is. So to meet Krishna face to face, wow, this is amazing, actually. But of course, we only meet Krishna face to face if we really give him our undivided attention. We can compare this, for example, when we imagine that we invite our guru to our home, and then when he comes, we turn our back to him and we are busy with the other things and we ignore him. So then obviously we are not associating with him, and we will not get any benefit. And actually we get some reactions for our disrespectful and inattentive way of receiving him. So, and the same thing is actually going on when we chant, that we are not, as a rule, we are not giving, Krishna our undivided attention. And therefore, there's hardly any benefit in this chanting. It's in fact like that, So yes, as I mentioned, inattentiveness takes place on the level of the body, on the level of the mind, and on the level of the heart. The heart level is actually the most important one, because all our service, including the chanting, is actually meant to transform the heart. But it will only transform the heart if the heart is involved, But if the heart is not involved, then it will just bypass the heart and it will not do anything to the heart. That's the point, So let us just quickly look at some examples to make it more concrete and clear. Let us look at some examples of inattentiveness on the level of the body and mind. So, I mean, usually I'm interactive here, but we have so little time, and over Zoom this takes even more time. So let me just mention a few common ways of inattentiveness on the level of the body. So it basically means if we chant while doing whatever, you know. So we chant while talking. Two people meet, both have their hand in the bead bag. Oh, hi, Bol, how are you? You know, back and forwards. And while the other person answers, we chant a few mantras, and then we answer, and the other person chants a few mantras. And like that, it goes back and forwards, you know, very common thing. Or we chant while going for beautiful walks, looking at the birds and the bees and the trees and the flowers, you know. Basically meaning behind inattentive chanting is the attitude of passing this boring japa time in a more pleasing way by going for a nice walk, for example, you know. So of course I know, or we know, Prabhupada used to go on japa walks, but Prabhupada's relationship with Krishna was firmly established. This was his reality. So he could chant anywhere, but this is unfortunately not our position. Our relationship with Krishna is hardly established. That's why we are so fearful of death, you know. If we were firmly established in our relationship with Krishna, we would not be fearful of death, you know. Yes. So, and therefore, you know, for us, we are completely distracted as soon as we see some nice nature and bees and flowers and nice trees and so on, you know. Or for example, when we chant while driving, you know, on the clicker. Oh my God, these clickers. I usually ask people to throw them in the nearest lake after a holy name retreat and get rid of them, because this clicker chanting is the quickest way to cultivate inattentive chanting, actually. Quickest and safest way. You know, the motto should be, if we cannot chant on our beads, it's the wrong time for chanting. You know, yes. Because, you know, on the clicker, you don't even have to finish one round. You can chant a few mantras here, there, and with dirty hands and left hand. It's only stainless steel. I mean, this is terrible, terrible. Yes. So chanting while driving, or chanting while watching something, you know, on the screen, you know, or doing something on the computer. We can say here, you know, thank God the bead bag has that hole, so we have that finger for the computer, you know. Or mobile phone scrolling up and down there. Oh my God, you know. I mean, believe it or not, I'm living without a mobile phone. I don't have a phone and I don't want one. Computer is enough distraction. I would go nuts if I had a phone. My God. You know, I see it all the time. Already early in the morning after Mangaladi, people are there with their phones and, no need for me. I don't need this, you know. And still, I'm usually traveling all around the planet and very nicely without a phone, you know, all these things, WhatsApp and all this stuff. I completely keep away from it. It's so distracting, completely, you know. Yeah. Yeah, so of course, inattentive chanting is also dozing off while chanting. Oh my God, this is miserable life. You know, if you fall asleep, you know, just imagine you invite, you know, Guru or Krishna to your home here, and then they come and you're falling asleep there. What a reception, you know. So, yeah, so, and the list is long, you know. I mean, also even chanting, sitting in the lecture, or maybe chanting here while you're listening to the holy name session, you know. Yeah, sometimes I have that in holy name retreats, you know, that people sit in the back and they chant, you know. So there is this attitude of maximizing time, you know. I want to be in the lecture, but I still got these rounds left. So, all right, let me sit in the back, chant quietly, and I hear at the same time, maximizing time. Inattentiveness. Same in kirtan, you know, you want to be in the kirtan, but then you sit in the back there and chant. I mean, this is inattentiveness, you know. Yes. Yes, or going shopping, you know, while chanting, and even public transport. It's almost, I mean, once we realize, you know, how we are meant to chant deep from the heart, calling out in public transport, you can hardly do this. You know, when you always have to worry, what is everybody thinking, and are they hearing me? And I mean, this is completely useless, you know. Yes. I mean, I have to tell you this funny story. Once I gave a holy name retreat in Ukraine, you know, and one devotee was telling how he was on public transport chanting on the train, and opposite him people were sitting, and he overheard, he tried to chant very quietly, you know, holding his hand, and Hare Krishna, and he had his feedback there, you know, and it was moving there, you know. So, and then he heard how they were discussing, and one was saying to the other, "Oh, what is he doing?" And then the other answered, "I don't know." And then he said, "Oh, look, there's something moving in the bag there. You don't look, something moving, you know." And then the other one said, "Yeah, and do you hear this, pss, 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 you know, this twiddling? You know, yes, I can hear something too, you know." And then the other one said, "It sounds like some little birds twiddling, you know." And then the conclusion was, believe it or not, it's a true story. Conclusion was, yes, he must have some little birds there in the bag, and they're moving and twiddling, you know. So, I mean, if this kind of talks are going on around you, how can you really chant properly, you know? Yes. Or one devotee told me that he was at an airport walking up and down chanting, and they didn't let him on the plane. They thought he was some suicide bomber there, that he would gear himself up to blow up the plane. And he missed the plane. They didn't let him on. And then they investigated there, and then he flew on the next day. So these things are going on, you know, and that's how people sometimes react when they see you chanting in public and they don't know what it is. They think you're nuts or something, you know. So, I mean, chanting in public transport, it's almost impossible really to chant attentively. I used to do this all for many, many years myself, that I was thinking, okay, today I'm sitting for 4 hours on the train, fantastic, that's when I chant my rounds, you know, maximizing the time, you know. But now it's always my greatest misfortune if I have to somehow chant in public transport, you know. I hate it, you know. Yes. So yeah, there's so many different versions of inattentive chanting. And I mean, you know, quietly you can do a little exercise later on after the seminar, and you reflect, what is your favorite way of inattentive chanting? What is your, you know, what distracts you the most from attentive chanting? What's your favorite one of all these versions? Yeah, so in any case, of course, sometimes people ask, but hang on, didn't Prabhupada say we should chant 24 hours a day? So yes, the answer is, of course, we should chant 24 hours a day, but our 16 rounds, we should chant with undivided attention, not doing anything else. And all the other chanting while we drive, of course, we can chant or we can sing the Maha Mantra, of course, right? But we don't count this, you know? It's extra, no need to count, no need to count. Because if we count them, you know, then very easily our mind cheats us, and then we think, oh, actually, I already chanted this morning on the way to work in the car. I already chanted 2 rounds, you know, so better not to even count them at all, not to chant on the click or the beats. They're extra, they're extra. but our prescribed number of rounds should be chanted with undivided attention. Yes. So, and of course, the inattentiveness on the level of the mind. This is also a tough one, because the mind carries us all over the place, all over the place. Plan making session, we use the japa time for making plans, whatever it may be, the shopping list, the to-do list, the planning of the next preaching session or whatever, so many plans. All kinds of conversations and dialogues are going back and forwards in our head, and I said, and he said, and I said, and he said, and, yes. Actually, let me just quickly, before I forget, this topic of chanting is in this book, The False Ego, Our Constant Companion and Troublemaker. So there's a whole chapter on chanting, and it is much more detailed than what we can discuss in these 2 hours here, And there I'm mentioning that very often it is not so much the mind which distracts us, but actually the false ego, pushing the mind. And whenever we have something on our mind which we can't drop and set aside, and always the same dialogues going on or monologues are going on in our head, always false ego is involved. Yes. So in any case, the plan making sessions, this is the inattentiveness on the level of the mind. And inattentiveness on the level of the heart is basically if the heart is not involved, if we don't call out feelingly, like Prabhupada gave us this a nice analogy that we should chant the holy name like a child crying out in helplessness for his mother, in utter helplessness and desperation. This is how we are meant to chant, deep from the heart, calling out, Krishna, I know you're there, I need you, longing for the relationship, and. The heart has to be involved. And we will do, in the second hour, we will do a little 10-minute exercise for this, just to get some little practical experience, what we are talking about here, But at this point, let me just introduce that, the inattentiveness on the level of the heart is when the heart is not involved, not involved. We're thinking of so many things, looking at things, doing things, and just rattling down. And the heart is not there. The heart is not calling out for Krishna. Yes, that's the inattentiveness on the level of the heart. And interestingly, let us understand that a child who calls out in helplessness for his mother, he does not have the problem of a wandering mind, right? The child doesn't say, this is strange. Every time I'm calling for my mother in desperation, I'm thinking of so many things, with whom to play, what to play, where to play, No, in the child's mind, there is no room for any other thought except, where is my mother? I need her right now. Right? Very simple and easy to understand. So that already gives us the clear indication that actually the root cause of our wandering mind is that we are not calling out in helplessness. We are not helpless. And if we just cultivate this helplessness of really calling out to Krishna, that actually draws the mind to the heart. And that will make the mind peaceful. So His Holiness Satchidananda Swami, he always says, don't try and do a boxing match with the mind. No. Of course, we hear the instruction, when the mind wonders what to do, We should bring it back. Okay, we should bring it back, yes. But that's only one part of what we should be doing. The other part is involve the heart, cultivate helplessness, turn towards Krishna, call out to him. You know, that's the solution. Not just a boxing match with the mind. Mind carries us away, boom, we bring it back. Carries us away, we bring it back. You know, that all happens on the level of the mind. We have to bring the holy name to the level of the heart. That's the point. And it really works like that, you know? Yes, it really works like that. As we are able to really cultivate this mood of helplessness, then the heart is more involved, and then the mind actually stops wandering so much. Of course, we can say we need a certain level of peace in mind. If there's just too many issues on the mind, then it can become pretty difficult, you know. So a certain level of peace of mind has to be there, you know. And then if we then involve the heart, then that brings the mind more to the heart level, you know. Yes. Yeah, so let me see here if I have forgotten. Yeah, well, there's so many more things, but I have to keep it a little concise and to the point. But yeah, so this is an introduction on these 3 levels of inattentiveness. Now, let me just quickly say a few more words about all the wonderful benefits which we can actually observe in our life if we chant attentively on these 3 levels. There is many wonderful benefits we can get. For example, we will be more inspired to serve. And not only to serve the way we want, and if it's not the way we want, then we don't feel inspired. But no, we have a very steady level of inspiration to serve, no matter what. Even if there's obstacles, even if there's, you know, objections and rejection and opposition or something. No, we you know, we continue in that steady mood of service. That deep inspiration is definitely coming from attentive chanting. Also, the inspiration to serve the deities also comes from attentive chanting. You know, almost in every community, there's always a lack of pujaris. You know, nobody wants to serve the deities. So, root cause is inattentive chanting. Because by chanting, if we chant attentively, then Krishna reveals himself more in the form of the deity. We actually see more than just some statue there on the altar. And then we will want to serve, you know, the deities. But if our chanting is poor and inattentive, then we will not be inspired. We don't see that Krishna is standing there, you know, and we have an opportunity to serve him personally. How wonderful. We don't have that vision, you know. And then when somebody asks us, can you dress the deities? Sorry, can't you ask somebody else, not today. And, you know, so then this will be the response. Root cause is inattentive chanting, you know. Also, attentive chanting brings realizations. We will see more Krishna's workings and Maya's workings. Realizations come from Krishna, not just by studying books and learning verses or something, but, you know, Krishna reveals knowledge and insights, you know, according to our mood of service, which includes the chanting, like that. You know, so we get realizations, we see things with a different vision, you know, with different eyes from a spiritual platform. That comes through attentive chanting. Also, there will be detachment from sense gratification will develop. that we feel, you know, sense gratification is a boring waste of time, whatever our main, you know, favorite form of sense gratification may be, you know, whether it's sex life or going to the movies or whatever it may be, you know, or just sitting on the beach or whatever people do, you know. So this will become a boring waste of time. And we will want to use every minute of the day in a meaningful way in Krishna's service. This mood comes from good chanting. And also the desire to study Prabhupada's books is connected with good chanting. You know, even though it goes both ways. So in order to actually really turn to Krishna mindfully and call out to him, we do have to have the Sambandha Gyan deeply established in our heart, meaning that, you know, we hear again and again and read in Prabhupada's books again and again, who am I, who is Krishna, what is this whole material world all about? So this build to knowledge has to be firmly established in the heart. And then it will be easier and more natural to turn towards Krishna. So, and then the more we chant attentively, the more we also get a taste for more studies and reading. So chanting and reading Prabhupada's books enhance each other, you know, like that. Yes. But this is also a concern which is even discussed amongst the GBCs, what to do to inspire people to read Prabhupada's books more, you know? And actually it's connected with chanting, really, you know? Yes, and also we get a genuine taste for chanting, you know? Good chanting leads to more good chanting. We want to chant nicely and we get a taste and it becomes important to us, you know? Yes. So these are just a few, you know, tangible results we get. Of course, there's also the more lofty ones of pure bhakti, going back to Godhead, and so on. Sometimes people also say, yeah, we are more peaceful. But then, yeah, you know, a Mayavadi meditator there may also give that answer, oh, I'm so peaceful after meditating, you know. So the real test comes when actually, you know, we are in challenging, you know, situations, and are we still then also peaceful? You know, when things really go topsy-turvy, or when we are facing death, or when we are facing, you know, some big politics or something, are we then still peaceful, you know? So yes, that comes from good chanting. If we chant nicely, then even in the middle of calamities and challenges, we will not so easily get bewildered, you know, because we see this is just a crazy circus here, you know. It's actually at the moment of death, it has no importance, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with my relationship with Krishna. It's a whole different reality here, you know. So, and then we will cruise over these challenges and difficulties without getting bewildered and disturbed, you know. So these things all come from good chanting, you know. So now, before we ask for questions on this section, so you can already think if you have some questions just on that topic which we discussed now, the inattentiveness in chanting. So but before we ask for questions, let me quickly say a few words about some very practical suggestions how to work our way out of inattentive chanting. Let us imagine, you know, all our chanting is completely inattentive on the train to work, or, you know, going for walks or doing the shopping or whatever habits we have established in our life. So how do we get out of this? So obviously, we will not be able to transform 16 inattentive rounds into 16 attentive rounds overnight. This will not be possible, no need to even try. So what we do, we take some amount of rounds, whatever it may be, 4, 6, 8, whatever, and we chant that smaller amount of rounds with undivided attention. Just sitting somewhere in a corner where nothing can disturb us. And we really try to involve the heart, which we will discuss a little later. And we really call out with undivided attention. We chant some amount of rounds, which does not mean that we don't chant the rest of the 16 rounds. No, we chant them, but let them be as we have always chanted them, inattentively while doing this and that and the other. But some amount of rounds we chant in a different mood, with undivided attention, with great endeavor and effort. So because our main problem is actually that we don't even know what is attentive chanting. All we know is inattentive chanting. And we think what we do is chanting, but actually it can hardly be called chanting, actually. So we have to give ourselves a chance to experience the difference between attentive chanting and inattentive chanting. And that's how we do it, that we take some amount of rounds and we chant them with undivided attention. And then we will get that experience that these rounds are so much more satisfying, that they actually satisfy the soul. Whereas these other rounds, we will get more and more disgusted with them. We will realize this is a useless waste of time, So, and as we said, good chanting leads to more good chanting. So if we take some small amount of rounds and chant them with undivided attention, we will get more and more disgusted with this heap of inattentive rounds. And very naturally, we will want to put more and more rounds from the inattentive pile into the attentive pile, right? Yes. So this is the main and foremost way to work ourselves out of the swamp of inattentiveness, right? That we really make an effort to chant some amount of rounds with full attention and concentration. And in that way, we gradually kick out these inattentive chanting habits, Because interestingly, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we actually come on the level of Namabhas. Because in all respect and sincerity, we try our very best to do this chanting. I distinctly remember the first time I took some beads and chanted. This was a very important moment in my life, and I tried it with all sincerity, and so that's actually Namabhas. So, and then we have two choices. We either go down to Nam Aparat, which most of us do, or we stay in Namabhas and work our way up to Sudanam. But unfortunately, and I dare say it's mainly because of lack of training, actually, everybody who wants to get initiated should do a solid holy name retreat, just to get some deeper understanding. We should train our devotees right from the beginning, how to chant, how the Mayavadis train their people, how to meditate. We should not even allow people to do so many things. This should be clearly understood that this is not acceptable. To chant while sitting there on the phone and this and that. This is not acceptable. That actually should be the standard, So, but most of us, we come with Namabhas and then we go down to Namaparat. And then we have so many bad habits. And then to get rid of these bad chanting habits is so tiring and it requires so much effort, you know? So we should actually train our people not to even develop these bad habits. And like in Ukraine, for many years, I've been doing holy name retreats there because I've spent, usually as a Wu, I spend quite a bit of time there. I have people who attended the same holy name retreat 5, 6, 7, 8 times because I basically go through the same motions every time because it's somehow a perfect formula. I got it actually of His Holiness Satchinanda Swami, but I rearranged it and, you know, according to my style. But the outline is basically his idea, you know. And I find it is such a genius formula. It works every time, you know. And the emphasis in such a retreat lies on the experience, not so much the information. You know, we've heard all so many glories about the holy name. We've heard it all, but no, it's not about collecting more information or something, but experiencing the holy name, going in seclusion. Holy name retreat, you have to pack a little bag and go far away into seclusion. The best place for holy name retreat is Ekachakra Dham. I usually do one there over Christmas every year. You know, last year was the first time for many years that we couldn't have it because I wasn't there, you know. But this is such an amazing experience. I mean, whenever India opens up again, please come over Christmas to Mayapur and I'll arrange everything. The bus to Ekachakra, nice accommodation, good prasadam. I arrange the whole thing, even on donation basis. Usually I have to sponsor a fair bit of it myself. But yeah, it's such a beautiful experience, you know, and you're far away from everything. Ekachakra is really remote, you know. You sit there for 5, 6 hours on the bus to go there, but it's a different world, Nityananda's birthplace. It's a really amazing experience, yes. So the seclusion, and the best thing is, Ekachakra, there's no network. No network, you can't use your phone, nothing. That's the best place for holy name retreat. And if I'm in a place where there is network, I usually try and confiscate the mobile phones. And I'd ask people to hand them in. But people are so attached, most people that cannot separate from their mobile phone for 2 or 3 days, you know. Yes. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, the seclusion is at least 50% of the whole effect is to leave everything behind, all the distractions, and just go somewhere and have undivided focus on the holy name. You know, we should do this regularly, actually. You know, it should be done at least once a year, at least once a year. It's just to polish up the chanting habits, you know, and put everything aside, you know. Yeah, so this tool of just chanting some amount of rounds with undivided attention and giving ourselves thus an opportunity to experience what is attentive chanting. This is one of the main and foremost tools. And then gradually we will get more and more disgusted with this inattentive chanting and we want to kick it out of our life, you know. But then, of course, there's also other tips, you know, that we, of course, as the earlier we chant in the morning, the better. You know, ideally, the main chunk of our round should be chanted early in the morning. But if that's not possible, the next best thing is to set aside a certain time of the day where we chant and only chant and nothing else. You know, let's say we are mother of 3 kids, so then the morning is very busy, you know, people get more dressed at the school, husband has to go to work or whatever the situation may be. So not for everybody, it's possible to change in the in the factory or whatever, and we may have to go to work at 6 o'clock or something. So then, of course, we cannot chant most rounds early in the morning, So then the next best thing is that we look at our daily schedule and we reserve some time for chanting and only chanting and nothing else. And when Prabhupada was a Grihastha, Shrutakirti Prabhu tells this in his book there, What's the Difficulty, I think, where he says Prabhupada used to chant 4 rounds early morning, 4 rounds before breakfast, 4 rounds before lunch, 4 rounds before dinner. And Prabhupada himself was saying, if you don't eat before you chant, then you will chant your rounds. So if you don't take breakfast or lunch or dinner before you have chanted these 4 rounds each there, you will do it, So that's the next best thing, that we, look at our schedule and we reserve a certain time, like for a busy mother in the morning, she's busy. So then when everybody's out at school, her husband is to work 11 o'clock or something before she gets busy again to cook the lunch or whatever. So then 11, okay, now it's my chanting time. I put everything aside and now it's only chanting and nothing else. So the important thing is regularity, that we have a regular schedule when we chant. And it should be so regular that doesn't give the mind a chance to wander, or maybe not now, maybe later or something. That's the strength in being regulated. Like in the morning we get up, first thing is we brush our teeth. So, if this is a regular schedule, we don't give the mind a chance to wander, or should we really, oh, excuse me, should we really brush our teeth now, or maybe later, or maybe not at all? No, there's no chance for the mind to come up with some considerations like that. So that's the strength in being regulated. It helps to control the mind. So, and also in chanting, we need regularity, that we have a certain time of the day when we chant, which is our japa time, So, and then another thing is, yes, ideally, if we chant in the association of devotees, this gives strength, That's why Prabhupada established japa time in every temple, and usually people often come, to the temple just for some time, even if they don't make it to Mangaladi, but then they come from 6 to 7 just to chant with the devotees or whatever, So, or especially also in America, very popular, people have some different groups, WhatsApp or Skype or what, and they chant together through the internet together, It's also better than nothing, even though I personally like to arrange my life in such a way that I can chant with devotees, personally. But yeah, if it helps and we get that strength through the association, it's good. Or, the other point is, of course, that we give attention through the ear to the holy name, hearing. Usually we are used to give attention through the eyes, seeing, look at this, look at that. But a holy name is hearing. And we can actually hear better if we close our eyes, because the eyes is the sense perception which distracts us the most, is through the eyes. So if we close the eyes, we can much better concentrate on hearing, So yes, we can close our eyes and try to hear, And Bhaktivinoda Thakur even recommends that we should chant with a bucket over our head. I actually tried this and it is quite powerful, Yes, it's like a mini bhajan kutir, because our previous acharyas, they had bhajan kutirs. They were not wandering around there on the market and chanting. No, my God, they were not doing that. They were crawling into their bhajan kutir. It's usually almost like a cave-like little building, and bhajan kutir doesn't have any big windows there to enjoy the beautiful view or something. You know, in Bangladesh, we have quite a few bhajan kutirs there of Madhavendra Puri and Mukunda Datta, Vasudev Datta, and so on. I've crawled into them, so I've been there. So bhajan kutirs are, cave-like little buildings which are dark to block ourselves from these distractions from the outside world. That's the purpose of a bhajan kutir, Yes, to go in seclusion. We crawl into our little corner there and we don't see anything. And because they're usually small, the echo is more, So in a bucket, you can try it next time you change your japa. If you put a bucket over your head, it's really like a little bhajan kutir, and you hear more, it echoes more. It's quite powerful, Yes. Or also Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends in a similar way with a blanket over your head, has a similar effect. Chadar, or cloth or something over your head. Then also your eyes are blocked, you don't get distracted, and you're more protected, the energy stays more within, and you're in a little cave there. But of course, we have to be awake enough not to fall asleep under the bucket or the blanket. I've seen that also, that the blanket, the chadar goes slowly deeper and lower there, and people fall asleep underneath it, So this is, of course, not the idea, we have to be awake, but it is powerful, And not only that, we can, take the principle of this bhajan kutir, and we can try and have our bhajan kutir in our living space, that this is either sitting in front of our altar or in some corner on the veranda or wherever it may be. Or I have, we are here in nature, so I have my spots in the forest where I just walk up and down. I don't look around and look for the birds and the bees, but I just have a spot there where I just walk up and down and I'm undisturbed, and like that. So we have to find our bhajan kutir where we feel protected from these distractions, and we don't have our phone in the pocket, which makes all kinds of noises and all of this, so we leave all that behind and we go to our bhajan kutir and we simply chant and do nothing else. We fully focus on the chanting, That's also a powerful tool to kick this inattentiveness out, And we can also ask ourselves two questions. How many rounds did I chant without interruption? We can ask ourselves these questions every evening. How many rounds did I chant without interruption? Was it one round here and half a round there and one more there and going over the whole day? Or was it, 10, 12 rounds in the morning and then 2 and 2 in the afternoon or something, So that gives us already some clue how important the chanting is for us, And obviously, if we had a good chunk of time where we just concentrate on the chanting and we chant a good portion of our rounds, we have a better chance that they were attentive, that we were concentrated. But if we just chant one round here and one round there, I mean, this is terrible, so such days are usually, hopeless days, where it's just one round here, one round there, just spread out through the whole day, So, and then the other question we can ask ourselves, at what time of the day did I chant my 16th round? You know, was it 11 or 12 o'clock, you know, around midday, or was it 11 o'clock at night? You know, so obviously this also gives some indication how important is you chanting for you. You know, important things, we don't leave them to the evening. You know, important things, you know, we do a good part of it in the mornings. You know, yeah. So this gives some indication how we, you know, treat our chanting, basically. You know. And yes, again, before we come to the questions, chanting requires a certain lifestyle, actually. To chant the holy name means that the holy name has to be first priority in life. Then we are chanting the holy name. It requires a whole lifestyle, that we mold our life around the chanting, that the chanting is the most important thing, because our relationship with Krishna is built through the chanting. And this is the only thing we will be able to keep at the moment of death. You know, everything else becomes completely insignificant. Everything else is mercilessly stripped off us. But my relationship with Krishna, that is eternal reality. That's what we are allowed to keep, you know? So we have to be very clear in this. So therefore, the holy name actually has to become really the most important thing for us, actually. Then we are chanting, you know? But if it's just some sideline there, which we squeeze in here and there, just, you know, doing other things, I mean, we can hardly even call this chanting, you know? So yeah, chanting the holy name requires a whole lifestyle. So that means, first of all, we have to get up early. We have to get up early. And in order to get up early, we have to take rest early. I mean, I usually like to take rest at 8 o'clock in the evening. If I take rest after 9, it's already not so good, you know, because I'm in here, I'm here in the community. I go to Mangalati every morning, you know, and chant with the devotees. And actually, Mangalati is actually the preparation for chanting, you know. Prabhupada was really stressing this, that grihastas who are living outside the temple, they should have a Mangalati in their home. And for many years, I never really even understood this. But in Bangladesh, I can tell you, people are Mangalati fanatics. They cannot imagine their life without Mangalati. Many times I came home at midnight from some big pandal program, you know, and I stay with some people, some, you know, grihastas. And I'm thinking to myself, hopefully there's no Mangalati tomorrow, you know, it's midnight, you know, no Mangalati, please, you know, because during the day I cannot rest. My mind is too busy, you know. So, but then sure enough, you know, some granny blows the conch there, boo, you know, at 4:30 and sings through the whole house and doing the arti, you know. Yes, I mean, you know, the day starts with Mangalati there, you know. Yeah. And once some students, I'm quite involved in student preaching in Bangladesh. So they asked me, oh, Mataji, we are so busy, we have to study and oh, we can't get our rounds chanted. And, you know, what's your advice? And I dared to make the suggestion, which I bitterly regretted immediately. I said to them, well, I guess in the West, you know, people wouldn't do the Mangalati, you know. I said this, you know, they just get up and chant. And they were looking at me with big eyes. What is she suggesting? No Mongolati? What is that? You know, I mean, and I immediately understood this was the wrong suggestion. You know, I shouldn't have said this, you know. And actually, that's how I understood gradually the importance of Mongolati. And often in India, when I travel there, you know, and give seminars in different cities, I also stay with the grihastas, and I have clearly experienced the difference in a household, you know, when there is a Mongolati and when there's no Mongolati, you know, definitely Mongolati drives the tamaguna away. And then people chant afterwards, you know, but if there's no Mongolati, everybody sleeps till 6, 6:30, 7. Well, you know, then you already have a different focus in your life, you know. Yes. And Mongolati should be at 4:30 or at the latest at 5. You know, if we have Mongolati at 7 and then chant all the prayers there or something, then it's not so Mongol anymore. Mongol means auspicious, you know, so it's meant to be early, you know, and not at 7 or something. Yes. Yeah, and another lifestyle thing is no heavy eating in the evenings. You know, that's a no-no. For serious sadhaka, should actually only take 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, you know. And if you eat a lunch at 2 o'clock, you know, and in the evening, just a little snack. I usually have 1 cup of soup, of, you know, rather runny soup. That's my evening meal, 1 cup of soup. It's actually more for the mind, really. You know? Yes, or maybe an apple or something, but not a whole full plate with rice and dal and sabji or pizza and all this. I mean, if we eat that in the evening, you know, then the focus is already something else, somewhere else, and something else is more important to us than the holy name, you know. So if our japa is really dear to us, we will not eat a heavy meal late at night. We will not do this. And initially, it might take a little bit of time to, you know, change the habits, you know, but being hungry is also very much experienced on the level of the mind, actually. You know, if you said yesterday we had Ekadashi, so usually I fast at least half a day on Ekadashi, sometimes longer. So it's just a question of fixing the mind. Okay, today I'm fasting, and then you're not hungry, you know. But if you anticipate the meal, oh, it's 9 o'clock, breakfast time, you know, then of course the stomach makes all noises there and you're hungry. But if you fix your mind on fasting, you know, it's not a problem. So same thing, you know, if you fix your mind on no more evening meals and just a tiny snack just for the mind, and also that not too late. Usually I take my soup at 7, you know, and then at 8 I take rest, you know, or 6:30 I take the soup, and at 8 I take rest, and just a runny soup is digested by then, you know, just a vegetable soup, you know, no dal or anything that's already too heavy. So yeah, these things are so simple actually, but yet not so easy to apply, because by living them, we have to show, we have to practically demonstrate what is important to us. You know, that piece of pizza at 9 o'clock or our japa time the next morning, you know. Yes, we have to practically demonstrate what is the center in our life. You know? Yeah, so, and then of course, you know, living simple also keeps the mind more peaceful. If our life is too complicated with long working hours and intense lifestyle, you know, I just spoke to one lady today, you know, she works 10 hours a day, you know, I mean, my God, you know, with such a lifestyle, difficult to really put time and energy to spiritual practice, you know. So best is to try and keep one's life simple. That's why Prabhupada gave us that formula, simple living, high thinking, you know. Yes. And of course, what is also very, very helpful, to be a part of a community, ideally to live in walking distance from the temple. This is what I usually advise in my Grihasta seminars, you know, walking distance to the temple. That is ideal. Then it's very natural that you want to go to the temple, you want to chant with the devotees and so on, you know, very natural. That's why Mayapur is such an amazing community, because it's so natural to go to the morning program, you know, so natural, you know. And also here, Samachalam, where I'm at the moment in Germany, I mean, we have about 35 grown-ups living on the property. Mongalati is the most popular program of the morning. We have about 25 people come to Mongalati. Yeah, very nice. It's almost a little unusual, I would say. I mean, from all other communities I visited, often, you know, the country communities, there's often a bit of, it's a mixture of Tamaguna and Sattvaguna usually, you know, the Rajas is missing. And people often can't get up, you know, and even in winter time when we are 700 meters above sea level, so we get quite a bit of snow. We have already devotees shoveling the snow before Mongalati, so that everybody can easily come to Mongalati. Yes. So they're quite organized here, you know. Yeah, so, and if you live in such a community, I mean, you feel bad not being there, you know, maybe once a week you sleep in a little bit or something, but even when I sleep in at 6 o'clock, I'm there and chant with the devotees, you know. So yeah, then you accept that lifestyle, you know. And by the strength of the association, you just carry it along, you know. That's the thing. So yes. Okay, so now I'm just looking on my watch here. We have only 45 minutes left. But I mean, actually, this first part of inattentive chanting, this is actually a very important foundation to the whole rest of it, because what's the use if we don't even understand, you know, what is inattentive chanting and how inattentive we actually are in our chanting, you know. So let me see if there's any questions. I think we will have only 2 sections of the seminar, not 3 as I was hoping, but let it be 2 sections. So do we have any questions?
So Hare Krishna, dear ladies. If you have a question, you can raise your hand by clicking on the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then you'll see raise hand. Or you can type it into the chat box and it will come to me and I will read it. So, so if you have any questions, go right ahead. We'll see. Okay, Radhapriya. Please go ahead, Radhapriya.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mother Devaki, thank you so much. I took a holy name seminar with you in Mayapur during one of the ILSs recently, and this is just such a wonderful, you remember what I'm talking about. This is such a wonderful reminder for me, and I certainly need the reminder. I liked what you said about the fact that it's with a retreat, it's about the experience, not about the information, because that has been my experience after I was with you in Mayapur, and I think this was a little over a year ago.
Yes, but I mean, mind you, this was just a 1 hour session with the leaders there.
Exactly, that was just...
Yeah. The real experience is if you actually go for 3 days to Ekachakra. then you get a really transformational experience, you know.
Yes, and that's on my list.
Okay, good.
But you know, I was able to, after we left Mayapur, we went to Vrindavan, and I was able to put some of these tips into practice. Because, you know, I had the opportunity, because we were getting up every morning and being with the devotees, to chant in Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi. And I had a very amazing experience. And unfortunately, I have not carried it home with me, but that's okay, because today gives me another chance to just start back in and do what I need to do. So thank you so much for your tips and for your reminders about how important this is. I'll just say, I think I'm one of the older people sitting here. You know, when I first joined, which is almost 40 years ago now, we were so busy. We were busy. We were, you know, doing things all the time. And the importance of chanting attentive rounds without distraction in the association of devotees was not stressed as much. It was like, well, do your service and then, you know, chant your rounds when you have time. And, you know, I unfortunately took that to heart early on, and it's something I've struggled with, to be honest. For many, many years, I've struggled with it. And, you know, fortunately, I keep getting good reminders. So I haven't given up yet. Thank you. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
sharing. Okay. Do we have any question? Because we do still want to do a japa exercise. So let's just go to some precise questions. Sri Lata Mataji.
Oh. Looks like Kamaniya Prabhu's hand was raised.
Hang on.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hang on. Who is
We'll
speaking
come back
now?
to you.
The Sri Lata.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I attended your classes in Vancouver. We met with each other. My question, I do my rounds like you suggested. I divide them into 4 because I could not concentrate longer. So that's how I have been doing. I just thought that I'm the oddball. But what about if you chant in your rounds and your mind is in Vrindavan?
Your mind is what?
When your mind is thinking of Vrindavan, holy places like going on Padayatra or visiting, you know, sometimes I'm chanting and my mind is in Vrindavan or I did ask this one from my Guru Maharaj as well. And also in Jagannath Puri. What are your thoughts about that? Not the whole 16 rounds. Say, occasionally, because your chanchal mind is so difficult to control, sometimes it wonders if I'm thinking of something else, I might as well be thinking if my head is going to Vrindavan. What is your thought about that?
Well, of course, thinking of Vrindavan is better than thinking of something mundane or something. But nevertheless, if we want our chanting to really build the relationship, we will have to chant in a certain way. And maybe since we have only half an hour left of our time, a little bit more, maybe I will just now introduce this, how we are actually meant to chant. So basically, let us understand, you know, that let's go back to this point that Krishna and the holy name are non-different. So actually to really, you know, build the relationship, because this is what the chanting is meant to do. It is meant to build the relationship. So we have to actually mindfully turn to Krishna and really helplessly call out to him. Krishna, I know you are there. Please accept me. With that feeling in the heart, we have to chant. If we don't chant like that, if we actually, let us be clear, one can very easily completely cut out Krishna from the picture, even from our whole devotional life. You know, actually, we can just be busy running around, having so many, you know, projects and this and that, you know, but then, hey, what am I doing for my relationship with Krishna? Where is Krishna here in the whole picture? So one can easily, in so-called Krishna consciousness, one can completely miss the point and keep Krishna out of the picture. So the relationship we build with Krishna is really when we chant, but only when we really consciously and mindfully turn to Krishna and appeal to him feelingly in helplessness. That kind of chanting will actually build the relationship. So now Satchidananda Swami, he calls this chanting where we don't even turn to Krishna mindfully and we don't appeal to him. He calls this empty medicine capsule. Yes, you know, medicine capsule, you can open them and usually there's some medicine inside, should be. And only then it has an effect. But an empty capsule from outside, it looks like the real thing, but there's nothing in it, nothing inside. It's empty. And therefore it will not have any effect. And this is going on in many devotees' lives. You know, I have to admit, for the first 30 years or 20 years, let's say 20 years of my spiritual practice, definitely I've taken empty capsules because nobody ever told me anything about this. I never heard anything about this. You know, I didn't know. I simply didn't know. So definitely, first 20 years of my devotional life, I took empty capsules for sure. You know, and this is exactly what sometimes people realize when they attend a proper retreat. I remember some years ago, we had a retreat in Bangalore in South India. We rented a whole place and it was very nice. And there was also some senior devotees there. And they almost got angry. You know, they felt cheated type thing. You know, they were saying, why am I only hearing these things after 30 years of Krishna consciousness? You know, they were upset, they were angry, they felt cheated, you know, and I had to pacify them. Well, better later than never. And so, you know, yeah, but, you know, these are sometimes, you know, the experiences people get, you know, when they actually realize what it means to chant. That actually only that kind of chanting where we deep from the heart turn to Krishna, call out him, only that will do something for our relationship with Krishna. But this other chanting, which we usually mainly do, just wandering around and doing this and that, this will not do anything for our relationship with Krishna. Absolutely nothing. You know, and I mean, there's this Bengali verse, Bahu Janma Kareyare Shravana Kirtanam, Tabutana Bhai Krishna Pade Premadana. So that means one can chant the holy name for many, many lifetimes if we chant with these offenses. And one of them is this inattentiveness. So we have to be very clear in this, that we can spend many, many lifetimes of taking empty capsules, you know, and we will not get anything out of this. The only tiny little benefit from this inattentive chanting and empty capsules is that somehow or other we still keep ourselves there connected and we try to fulfill our vows, and there's more of a chance that we come to a situation where we hear something deeper about the chanting. That is the only benefit, that we end up on a Zoom program or on some retreat or some seminar, and we hear something more about the chanting. So if we somehow or other still hang in there and chant these inattentive rounds, we have more chains, you know? Whereas if we already give up the chanting, there's less chance that such a topic interests us at all, you know? That's basically the only benefit we get from this inattentive chanting, these empty capsules, you know. And I mean this, you know, in the Harinam Chintamani by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes this chanting without turning to Krishna mindfully and calling out to him. He calls it like a shadow or a reflection, you know, but it's not the real thing. And I mean, you imagine, you know, I show you a reflection of a beautiful plate of prasadam, and I tell you, here, take it, you know. So will this be satisfying to your stomach? I don't think so. You know, you want to have the real thing and not just looking at a picture here or something, you know, or have some reflection of it or something. You know, and the same thing with this chanting. These empty capsules, they're just not satisfying to the heart and to the soul. And therefore there's no taste and practically no benefit, you know. So, and this is now exactly what I'd like to do. Maybe you unmute yourself, Srilata Mataji, unmute yourself, please. And no, or mute yourself, yeah, like that. And let us do this exercise that we now chant one round. And even if you don't have your beads near you, no need to run off now and look for them. If you don't have the beads, you can chant on your fingers, or you can just chant without counting. I'm a pretty slow chanter. I need about 10 minutes for one round. So, you know, we chant one round, everybody at their own pace. We all remain silent here. I will also mute myself or unmute myself. I always get mixed up what is what. So, and you will not hear me. And we just chant one round, and we really try, you know, we can close our eyes so we don't get distracted by anything. And we try to really deep from the heart turn towards Krishna, call out in helplessness, please accept me, longing for the relationship. This is how we are meant to chant, longing for the relationship, right? So let us try this for one round. Okay, so let me Guru Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So we are back. So let me ask you, and you can maybe answer into the chat. Now you can make the chat for everyone here. Yes, was it easy? Who thought it was easy? Was it easy or was it difficult? What's your answer? Easy or difficult? Difficult, difficult. Easy in spurts, but hard to maintain. Okay. Yeah, I mean, most people say it's difficult because we have neglected this relationship with Krishna for so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes. You know, so it is not just a question of joining ISKCON and getting initiated and then this mood of neglecting Krishna is finished or something. No, it actually requires a whole paradigm shift, you know. It requires some internal change. And I sometimes give this analogy or this example of a brahmachari who was 20 years in the brahmachari ashram, and then he gets married, you know, and because he was for 20 years in the brahmachari ashram being trained to ignore the women, you know, so he's on that program, and then sometimes it takes him quite a long time to, you know, flick the switch there, you know. And he's married, but he's married in name only, you know, and he just continues ignoring women, including his wife, you know, and his wife gets all frustrated. Hello, I'm here. Can you maybe also give me some attention here and relate to me or something, you know? So, yes, I have observed this quite a few times, you know, that this is not so easy for a brahmachari who has been 20 years in the brahmachari ashram to actually make a paradigm shift there. What to speak of us here in the material world? You know, we have not only ignored Krishna for 20 years, but for so many lifetimes. So to actually put an end to this and really turn to Krishna, not so easy, because we are so in the habit, we are so programmed to ignore Krishna, to be happy without him. We think ourselves to be happy without him, you know? So this actually requires a whole deep internal change. And as we all know, a relationship does not happen automatically, you know? It's not a matter of just time going by. No, we have to actually make some endeavor. And the first step in any relationship, building any relationship, is that we are mindful of the other person's presence here. We don't ignore them, right? That's the very first step. Without this mindfulness of the presence of a person in our life, we will not be able to build any relationship, you know? And even between husband and wife, in the modern days, people often ignore each other. They live in their own bubble. He's doing his thing, she's doing that thing. Or some couples, you know, he comes home from work when she goes to work, you know, some kind of shifts and so on. They hardly even see each other. They don't know what's going on in each other's lives, you know. Or same in the brahmachari ashram, brahmacharini ashram, you know, or in communities. There's often a lot of impersonalism there, and we are not even mindful of the other person's presence there. We don't give them attention. We don't turn to them, you know. So, and exactly the same thing is also going on in our relationship with the Holy Name. That actually to really develop the relationship with Krishna through his Holy Name requires mindfulness, that Krishna is there and we turn to him, we appeal to him, longing for the relationship, calling out to him in helplessness and desperation, And it's very logical that if we really do this every day for 2 or 2.5 hours, something will develop in our relationship with Krishna. It will become tangible reality, very simple. But if we don't make that effort, nothing will happen in our relationship with Krishna. Absolutely nothing, Yes. Yes, and let me just give, this is the first principle in secret in getting to deeper levels of chanting. The mindfully turning to Krishna and appealing to him. And by the way, the same principles we also find in kirtan. In a 2-hour session, I cannot put all these things in, but one more time, if you get this book, The False Ego, you will get it all in there. Yes. So, Japa Kirtan, you find the same principles, even the inattentiveness, same thing as there in Kirtan too, people talking, going on their phones, thinking of so many things, same principles are there. And Kirtan, what makes a Kirtan a powerful and spiritually charged Kirtan is when the Kirtan leader is really turning to Krishna, calling out to him helplessly, then it's Kirtan. But if the Kirtaniya, the Kirtan leader, is not connected, and he's just only doing his nice music there, well, then it's not more than that, nice music, but there's no connection there. And then it's not satisfying the heart. So same thing as the in Kirtan. So turning to Krishna, mindfully calling out to him, longing for the relationship. This is the first secret of success. So in second secret, we don't really have much time to discuss it, but I mention it anyway. So second secret is that we don't only turn to Krishna and long for the relationship, but we fill our chanting with longing to serve. We beg Krishna, please let me serve you and your devotees. All I want to do is serve, serve, serve. Serving, that's what I want to do. So saying this does not mean that we are planning our service or that we are asking for some particular service. Sometimes people say, but I'm doing already so much service. How can I ask for more service? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the quality of service, that we actually want to finally get to the point where we serve with heart and soul, where we give our very everything, where we are sacrificing ourselves in service. Vaishnava humility makes us feel that actually I haven't even started serving yet. I'm just playing around here. So when will the day come when I actually start serving, giving my very heart, my whole life to actually serving? So that's what we are trying to cultivate. So, and now in very short, in just a few minutes, the essence. If we chant longing to serve, that establishes us in Dasya, and the understanding that, yes, I am a servant. I'm not the enjoyer, I'm not the controller, I'm not the proprietor, but actually I'm servant. Yes. So this longing to serve when we chant, this actually frees our heart from all kinds of desires to control and enjoy. And this is what helps to dissolve the false ego. That's why this chanting topic is in the book about the false ego. Because chanting, longing to serve, very simple and logical. If we do this every day for 2 or 2.5 hours, surely enough, sooner or later, the day will come where we get the point. I am servant, right? Very simple, actually. You know? If we really beg Krishna, please let me serve, serve, serve. All I want to do is serve. Sooner or later, we get it. I'm servant and nothing else. You know. So these are the main two principles: turning mindfully towards Krishna, longing for the relationship. That will establish the relationship, you know, and then longing to serve. That will free us from all these misconceptions and false designations and upadis and so on. That will scrub our heart, you know, and free ourselves from that. So these are just in a nutshell a few thoughts and ideas about chanting. So, and it's not that I have perfected this art, I'm just preaching here to myself, and for me it was also a good reminder and so on, you know. So let me see if we have one more question or something.
Hare Krishna. So there's one question that I sent directly to you that was sent to me, and then there's another one that was posted to everyone.
Yes. So what if we experience different moods while chanting, or should we focus on helplessness? Is that the question?
That's the first one, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, you know, we have to be careful that we don't get into all kinds of esoteric moods there, you know, imagining Radha and Krishna and all these things. Very easily we become sahajiyas, you know. And Prabhupada was actually asked if we, for example, should try and remember the past times or see Radha Krishna in front of us or something. And he actually said no, you know, because we first have to really purify our heart and free ourselves from this enjoying spirit. And this is what we do by, you know, chanting, turning to Krishna, longing to serve, you know. Yeah, no, we should basically concentrate on that, because, you know, Krishna only will reveal to us, you know, for example, anything about our eternal relationship with him once a devotee is firmly established in Dasya, because Dasya sets the foundation to all other rasas, you know. There's Dasya, then Sakhya, the mood of friendship, is Dasya plus Sakhya. Then Vatsalya, the parental love, is Dasya plus Sakhya, friendship, plus Vatsalya. And then Madhurya, conjugal, is Dasya plus Sakhya plus Vatsalya plus Madhurya. So Dasya is the foundation to everything. And Krishna will only reveal, if there's anything more to reveal, if a person is firmly established in Dasya. That has to be established first, you know? Because as long as we have this tendency to enjoy, let us imagine, you know, when a devotee who has still this enjoying spirit in the heart, if that devotee tries to remember Radha Krishna, what will the mind say? The mind will say, oh, Radha Krishna, they're having such a nice time. I also want to be with them and have a nice time with them. You know? I want to enjoy with them, you know. So that will the mind say when there's still some enjoying spirit in the heart. But if we are firmly established in Dasya and this enjoying spirit is washed away, so what will we then think? What will the mind then say when we think of Radha Krishna? Then the mind will say, oh, Radharani, she is most expert in serving Krishna, pleasing him. She knows all the tricks and secrets. She is willing to sacrifice her whole life simply to serve Krishna. I want to assist her. I want to learn from her. I want to serve her. You know, so that's a whole different mindset then. That's what will go on in our mind when we are established in Dasya. But while this is not there, there will simply be tendencies of enjoying spirit entering, you know, and that then we will water the weeds, you know. So that's why, you know, at this point, including my humble self, I mean, we all have to do a lot of work here to establish our relationship with Krishna and call out to him in helplessness. See, for us, we don't feel helpless. That's our problem. Why? Because we're too proud, you know? That's the whole thing. That's why Mahaprabhu says, Trinada Pisunitjana, so we can actually only chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, you know, thinking ourselves lower than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree and so on. You know, so our problem, we don't feel helpless. That's why we are inattentive. That's why the mind wanders, because we actually think we don't need Krishna. It's all quite nice also without him. Maybe on the Sunday program when there's nice prasadam, then Krishna is all very nice. But otherwise, we think we can get by quite nicely without Krishna. We don't feel helplessly dependent on Krishna. So that's why in our neophyte stage now, you know, we should cultivate this mood of helplessness, calling out to Krishna in helplessness, feeling dependent on Krishna. Krishna, I need you. I want you. Longing for the relationship, you know. So, and then when chanting the holy names, one goes into a breathless trance. Is that not being attentive, or what do we do if we forget the number of rounds when that happens? No breathless trance. You know, let's stay awake, let's stay attentive, let's call out in helplessness, and we count the rounds nicely, you know. So no need for breathless trance. Then maybe we forgot to breathe or something, you know. I mean, there's also funny stories, you know, with Prabhupada, where devotees were asking Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, sometimes I see some bright light there when I chant. Then Prabhupada was saying, just continue chanting, it will go away sometime. You know, devotees thought this was some really highly amazing spiritual sign of higher levels or something, you know, but Prabhupada was saying, just continue chanting, it will go away. And I think once he was even saying, oh, it may come from some previous drug taking or something. You know? So Prabhupada was keeping the whole thing very down to earth, you know. So what else? I mean, maybe I could here send my email address to everybody, just in case somebody wants to get some books or something. Can you make this available to everybody? Yes, and let me quickly mention a couple more things. So we introduced this book here, the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff about, getting offended, and that devotees should never defend themselves. And I mean, there's so many practical and useful things. Putting this book together, I can only say, has helped me a lot to detect how my false ego often gets into my way and pushes me to say and do things which I better shouldn't say and do, so helpful, So, and then here, sheltering relationships. This is all about the importance of having a coach, a mentor, and eventually becoming one to others. Highly important topic. We have lost so many devotees over the last years because we have not understood that just having a Diksha Guru is not enough. We do need another person who is closer there on a regular basis, who can observe us, how we practice, how we serve, and who can help us to assess ourselves. Because while we have material desires and attachments, we actually cannot really see where we are standing. Our vision of ourselves is distorted. We need somebody who helps us to see where we have to work on and who corrects us. You know, like Vaisheshika Prabhu says, we live to be corrected. No matter on which level of Krishna consciousness we are, we should always be eager to be corrected, because we don't want to stay as we are. We want to move forward, you know. And there's also topics like envy in it, how envy manifests towards seniors equals juniors, what to do, how to get rid of envy, and a different culture of correcting others, and so many, yeah, useful things. And then the other one, spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. Well, that introduces Krishna's culture as his system to keep stability and harmony in this world. Our problem is always that we think our modern system is better than Krishna's system, and that Krishna's system is old-fashioned and outdated, and now we are the modern days, we do it all much better, you know, and that's why we get so many social problems, you know. And this book mainly focuses actually on the highly important role we women are meant to play, that we are meant to be the power of inspiration to men around us, not only in the married life, but also within society. There's a lot of good topics, how men, women, very different. They have different qualities, different natures, because according to Krishna's recommendation, they're meant to play actually different roles, you know. But this is all upside down these days. And when we read this book, we realize how far we are from Krishna's system sometimes, miles away, my God, miles away. And in many regards, it will take several generations actually to really transform. You know, but I personally am very convinced that if we want to make Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement powerful, we also have to live our philosophy, not only repeat it and learn it by heart or something, but we actually practically have to live it. And that's how we get culture, by living a certain worldview. So this book focuses on that, you know. And the price, these two are $12 US each, and the false ego one 18. And plus shipping within America, which is not so much, you know. So the box is already sitting in Ohio. So if you want any books, then please let me know. Also, they are available in Amazon, the soft copy, you know. You can get it there also. But many people, they like to actually have a book in their hand, and then you can get it. And actually, this one is also available in Russian language. Here, our Victoria. Are you Russian?
No, I'm not.
No, you're not, because Victoria is a very common Russian or Ukrainian name. That's
Yes.
why maybe you're from that part of the world. But if anybody is there who speaks Russian, it's also available in Russian. Okay, so do we have any final concluding question, comment, or whatever?
I just wanted to add that if ladies, if you do email Devaki, she can add you to her mailing list, and then get notice of all of her wonderful seminars. So I encourage
I
you.
mean, usually it's my traveling diary, you know, where I'm actually writing something, what I'm doing. But since I'm not traveling much anymore at the moment, you know, I haven't been writing many diaries these days, and it's mainly just the posters of the next seminar. You know? Yeah, I mean, for those who want, you know, we do have the seminar tomorrow. I don't know, did you send to the group the seminar tomorrow, that poster which I sent you?
Kamania has actually already posted it in the chat box.
Oh, she did.
Yes, and I will put it on. I've been putting some of your seminars on the Facebook page for the ministry, so I will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here I see it. That's the link to it, yes. let me see if, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, actually the initiative comes from the South African devotees for this seminar tomorrow. They asked me to do this, and it's 2 sessions on one day. So, and then I asked them, oh, can we invite other people also to, make it more available? Yeah, and they didn't mind. So that's why we announced it to everybody, Okay, good.
Okay. Well, thank you so, so very much, Devaki, for this very valuable class with so many practical tips and gems to help us get closer to Krishna. With all of this knowledge, we will all advance on our path. So thank you so very much. It was lovely to have you, and I hope that you will come back to us soon.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a pretty good attendance here, we had 25, 26 people, so that's not bad, and maybe more people will watch the recordings later. This is often also my experience with Zoom programs, that often not so many people actually come on the session, but then many more watch it later whenever it's convenient for them or something,
Yeah.
Yes, well, so thank you also for arranging this and inviting me, and it was a great pleasure for me to associate here with you all, and maybe just to make